My name is Kaja Kühl. I'm an adjunct associate professor at Columbia University. So our studio is titled The Climate Crisis, Imagining a Green New Deal in the Hudson Valley. And that responds to two things that in the urban design studio we have been working in the Hudson Valley for a number of years. It sort of expands our scope from New York City into the region that feeds us in New York City, that provides energy for the city, materials and food. But it's also sort of an idea of really recognizing that what we are looking at is not climate change, but really a crisis. So I've been, even before the call for course proposals was brought to my attention, I had planned to do a fall studio on the climate crisis. I've been following the young climate activists for some while and sort of participated in protests myself, and really thought that it was important to bring into the university the sense of urgency that these climate activists around the world are recognizing and are bringing to the topic. And that was also reflected in the Green New Deal document, sort of really putting a timeline to these events. In addition, a number of reports by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change have made it really clear that all of us, and especially sort of the professions that have an influence on our built environment, need to recognize the sense of urgency to transition our built environment into a world that can function without fossil fuels and greenhouse gas emissions. So that's been pretty interesting for us. So in urban design, I think the idea of public works feels very natural to us. The public interest is typically at the center or at the core of the studio work in urban design. So when we think about the projects that we develop, it's generally centered around public space, about public infrastructure systems, community, and sort of policies and politics. However, what was interesting in thinking about this in this very US-specific prompt was that the majority of our students are international students. And so we have this challenge to kind of test case through the lens of the Green New Deal what actual solutions might be in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and changing our infrastructure systems. But we also have this ambition, of course, that all of what we talk about and think about is relevant to other places in the world where our students come from and might go back to after they graduate. It's really difficult to stay focused on the solutions we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And this, I say, is a takeaway from the studio, but it's also a takeaway from general conversations that we've all had over the course of the last several months, that the conversation and the dialogue, especially in the media, is actually very focused on very distant things like fires in California, icebergs melting in the Arctic, and not so much focused on the kinds of transitions that we need, the solutions that we should be looking at in the built environment, the changes that we as designers can actually sort of propose, invent, manipulate. And so sort of focusing all of us on the number one mission, the goal A, I believe it is in the Green New Deal document, which is a world of net zero emissions, has been surprisingly challenging. One thing that we do in the Urban Design Studio is that the students get to choose their own site and program. So we've kind of sent 56 students out into the Hudson Valley, a vast region, to explore the various different environments. And so now, 2 weeks before the final, students are settled into choosing sites that are all over the region, across the board, from small towns to rural environments to suburban environments. And so that's been really interesting to see how this develops in terms of finding different types of solutions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and to do that in a way that it creates sort of equitable systems and environments for social and environmental justice. It's also been really it's been really fun to have these conversations with students, and also to watch students have conversations with each other about what's important to them, how they can develop their projects and proposals in a way that is meaningful to the overall goal, but also to their own education. One thing that we do a lot is our students produce videos, and so for the videos they've been able to capture a lot of different voices from the places that they're working in, and that collection of interviews is an amazing contribution to the dialogue itself.